All right, thank you, Keith, and good job with the alphabet soup. I am here in the studio once again with Beano Cook, and we will be here all during the autumn to watch college football together. And, of course, today has been a significant day with #1 falling. Back with more.
This halftime is being brought to you by Prudential. For life, health, auto, home, get a piece of the rock. Prudential Insurance brings you the Prudential College Scoreboard.
Just before more than 105,000 in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Michigan led it 6-0 at the half. Miami went ahead 7-6 in the third quarter. Then it was 12-7 in the key sequence of the game. Bo Schembechler elected to take a field goal off the board, accepted a roughing the kicker penalty instead of a 15-7 lead on that touchdown by Bob Perryman, an unknown fullback. His third of the day, it became 19-7. But on their next possession, 4th and 10 from the 44-yard line, desperation heave from Bernie Kosar down the sideline to Stanley Shakespeare, and Shakespeare had narrowed the Miami deficit to 19-14. Miami got it back again, but from the 9-yard line, Kosar threw this, his 5th interception of the day. Rodney Lyles picked it off. He had 3 of the 6 interceptions that Kosar was to wind up with, and #1 has fallen. Michigan beating Miami 22-14. Beano Cook, too much to ask, I guess, for one team to win all 3 games in 13 days that Miami played.
It's unbelievable what Miami has done. They upset Auburn, came back in the last few seconds to beat Florida, and for them to have beat Michigan would have been quite a feat. 3 wins by September 8th. But all I know, Jim, if I ever rob a bank, Bernie Kosar would drive the getaway car. He's something. He's a great quarterback. They say sophomores should not win Heisman trophies, but let him. He's right now the leading candidate, despite all the interceptions today, because he's a remarkable quarterback. 4th and 10, throws the touchdown pass. Unbelievable.
Be interesting to see what Miami can do as the season goes on. They still have a lot of tough games to play. One team without a tough game today was second-ranked Nebraska, which opened at home and beat Wyoming 42-7. As you probably already know, Jeff Smith, 28 carries for 170 yards. Clemson, off NCAA probation, but still under ACC penalty, beat Virginia 55-0 tonight. Several different players scored touchdowns for the Tigers. 4th-ranked UCLA playing later at San Diego State. Oregon State gave 6th-ranked Ohio State quite a battle. The Buckeyes fell behind 14-3 in the ballgame. This touchdown by the Beavers gave them the 14-3 lead. And Ohio State had not looked good on offense in the absence of the man who would have been expected to be the starting quarterback, Mike Tomczak. But Jim Carsatos kept the running attack going, and Keith Byers, who you see there, had 34 carries for 182 yards. That touchdown got the Buckeyes going. They went on to win it 22-14. 7th-ranked Notre Dame lost in the initial game in the Hoosier Dome, the initial college football game, to Purdue 23-21. One fact you may not know yet, Alan Pinkett was held to 69 yards in the ball game. The Irish turned it over 5 times, and Beano will have more to say about Notre Dame in just a minute. 10th-ranked Iowa pounded Iowa State 59-21. Chuck Long, 217 yards passing and 4 touchdown passes in the game. Rutgers, under former Joe Paterno assistant Dick Anderson, gave the Nittany Lions all they could handle before Penn State won at 15-12. Doug Strang, slow starter last year, 7 of 20 for only 47 yards today. Syracuse, which was hot at the end of last year, stayed hot today, beating Maryland 23-7 at College Park. The Terps had only 61 yards of offense in the second half. Florida scored for the last time against LSU with a little more than 4 minutes to go on a Lorenzo Hampton 14-yard run. Charlie Pell elected to kick for a tie at that point. And, of course, both teams had chances in the last 4 minutes. LSU missed a 46-yard field goal as time ran out in the last minute of that game, and they wound up with a 21-21 tie. There were 8 field goals kicked in this ball game. Georgia beating Southern Mississippi 26-19. Virginia Tech slipped by Wake Forest 21-20 tonight. Surprising that it was that close, and the Deacons missed 2 field goals in the fourth quarter, including one on the last play. Indiana is at Duke. It's 31-24 Indiana in the fourth quarter. North Carolina State is off to a hot start tonight. They beat Ohio U 43-6. McIntosh and another back over 100 yards. South Carolina lost to Furman last week. Tonight, they are tied up with the Citadel at 24 in the fourth quarter.
College football, the All-American game.
A live shot of Legion Field in Birmingham, Alabama. The halftime score, the Crimson Tide on top of the BC Eagles, 24-14. We'll be going back there shortly. Lou Holtz's debut as Minnesota coach tonight. They lead Rice 14-7 in the third quarter. Two good pieces of news for Illinois today. One, they beat Missouri 30-24. Two, all-conference defensive back Craig Swoop was acquitted of cocaine trafficking charges after a 13-hour jury deliberation. Michigan State led Colorado 24-0 and held on to win 24-21. The Buffaloes missed a field goal with 18 seconds to go in the game. Oklahoma beat Stanford 19-7, playing without Spencer Tillman. Danny Bradley played very well. Baylor at Brigham Young, 47-13 for the Cougars. 6 touchdown passes for Robbie Bosco. 13 wins in a row for Brigham Young, longest streak in the country. Washington beat Northwestern 26-0, and Southern Cal beat Utah State 42-7. Zepp Lee, 11 carries for 161 yards and 2 touchdowns. Beano Cook, 2 scores will raise eyebrows today. We've already spoken about Michigan beating Miami. Purdue beat Notre Dame. Is it too early to begin the Faust watch?
Well, first, Purdue has a habit of making it rough for Notre Dame. In 1950, it was Purdue that stopped the long streak of Notre Dame. Notre Dame had gone undefeated for 4 straight years. 54, Purdue beat Notre Dame, cost Notre Dame the national title. First, Jerry Faust has a 5-year contract. The Notre Dame administration said he's going to have those 5 years. Now, in most cases, you don't believe anybody. Votes of confidence, he's going to stay. Notre Dame, I believe. Notre Dame would not lie. He has his 5 years. However, I think if he has a bad year, he will resign. I think he's a man of integrity, a man of sincerity, and I know he loves Notre Dame, and I think that if he doesn't win 8 games, he will resign at the end of the year. But he will not be fired, no matter if the record's 0-11.
Once again, you have staked yourself out early. Beano and I will be here throughout the year, so you can watch him as well as the ball games to see if he's right. More after this.
Auto insurance covers until it's too late. Ask a Prudential agent for a Pru review.
Don't believe it! Well, believe it or not, I don't think we're covered.
Not covered?
But we must be.
No.
But what if we're not?
Oh.
You had a crew review. I did. I mean, I know my car would be covered.
Get a piece of the rock.
Get Prudential's Pru review. It's fast and free.
Stadium. Gary Matthews providing the offense. A home run here for Mr. Matthews, making it 2-0. Then he's going to drive in Bob Denier right here, a 3-0 ball game. At that time, the Cubs do win it 6-0. The real hero was Rick Sutcliffe. He's now 14-1 this year. The Cubs now lead by 7 games in the East. He struck out 12 Mets tonight. There is little doubt he'll get the Cy Young Award for the National League. Number 1, Miami of Florida. They had a deceptive defense going. They disguised blitzes all day, and they picked off 6 Bernie Kosar passes. Bob Perryman ran for 3. That's the upset. Meanwhile, in Maryland, Todd Norley of Syracuse, who is from Warrington, Pennsylvania, hit for a touchdown pass here. Syracuse opens up their season with a 23-7 win. And speaking of hits, here is the one to remember from the Northwestern game. They lost to Washington 26-0, and luckily the helmet right there was empty. Now, who's going to be number 1 now that Miami lost? We'll look for Nebraska, who rolled over Wyoming. Penn State had a tough one versus Rutgers, but they won it. Notre Dame was upset by Purdue. Last year, the Irish beat them by 46 points. Tonight, Temple opens up with a shutout at East Carolina. Delaware was Downs James Madison. Widener by 9. Rhode Island over Lafayette 31-10. And at Franklin Field this afternoon, Greg Lake will show us his power on an impressive touchdown run. His team, the Hornets of Delaware State, all over South Carolina State, 50-36. Lake ended up with over 200 yards rushing. He just kept going right there. In pro football, Kellen Winslow says he's now going back to San Diego, having settled his contract problems. He had a 5-day retirement. As part of his holdout, Winslow could play